By the time I found my wife sitting at our kitchen table with another man, I had already convicted her in my head. It was 11:47 on a Thursday night. The house was dark except for the weak yellow light over the stove. Between Claire and the man lay a brown envelope, an old flip phone, and a medical folder with a name I had never seen before, Lily Ann Cooper. I stood in the doorway with rain dripping from my jacket onto the linoleum. Claire looked up, and the color left her face. The man was in his 50s. He looked tired, not guilty. Somehow that made me angrier. "So this is him?" I asked. Claire whispered, "Daniel, please." I reached for the envelope. She put her hand over it. The man finally spoke. "She didn't betray you," he said quietly. "She was protecting someone you forgot." For a second, the only sound in the kitchen was the furnace kicking on beneath the floor. Then I saw the name again, and something buried inside me shifted. Before the strange calls, before I followed my wife through the rain like a man I would have hated, I would have told you Claire and I were ordinary in the best possible way. We lived in a small blue house on the edge of Marion, Ohio. I worked nights at a distribution center. Claire worked at the public library and made quiet rooms feel warmer. Our son, Owen, was 10. He played second base badly, but with total confidence. On Saturdays, Claire and I watched him play badly and cheered anyway. We had a mortgage, 2 aging cars, and bills clipped to the fridge. That was our life. School papers, frozen dinners, work boots by the door. I loved them. But loving people and letting them know you are scared are different skills. I fixed things and worked overtime. If something hurt, I tightened my jaw and went to work. If something scared me, I called it being tired. Claire used to ask, "Where do you go when you get quiet?" I always said, "Nowhere." That was not true. I went inside myself and closed the door. The first thing that felt wrong happened on a Tuesday in October. My shift had been cut short, and I drove home early through cold rain. When I turned into our driveway, Claire's car was parked out front. The engine was running. The headlights were off. She was sitting behind the wheel, both hands wrapped around her phone, crying quietly, with her face turned toward the windshield. I knocked on the window. She jumped so hard she dropped the phone into her lap. "You scared me," she said after opening the door. "I live here." It came out sharper than I've meant. She wiped her cheeks. "I know. I just didn't expect you." "What happened?" "It was a long day at the library. One of our regulars passed away. I'm just sad." I believed her because it sounded like Claire. I wanted to believe her because the alternative required a conversation I did not know how to have. 3 nights later, her phone rang during dinner. We were eating when Claire looked at the screen, and something passed over her face. She silenced the call. "Who was that?" I asked. "Work." At 7:30, we're planning the winter reading program. The phone buzzed again. Claire stood, picked it up, and walked onto the back porch without her coat. I told myself I did not mean to listen as I moved closer. Her voice was low, but I caught pieces. "I can't tell him yet." A pause. "No, not after what happened." Another pause. "Owen can't know." I set a plate down too hard. It cracked against the sink. Claire turned and saw me. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yes, you said Owen's name." It was about a children's program. I looked at my son. He was dragging a grain of rice through sauce with his fork, pretending not to listen. I should have asked more. I should have said I was scared. Instead, I nodded and rinsed the broken plate. After that, Wednesday nights changed. Claire started coming home late every Wednesday. She said the library had a senior outreach program. One Wednesday, I left for work early and drove past the library. The lights were off. The front doors were dark. A paper sign inside announced winter hours. Closed at 6. Claire had told me she would be there until 8. I sat across the street in my truck. Maybe the outreach was somewhere else. Maybe ordinary men did not sit in parking lots trying to catch their wives in lies. The next morning, I found a receipt in the pocket of her gray coat while looking for my missing gloves. It was from a diner near St. Agnes Medical Center. 2 coffees, 2 bowls of soup, 1 slice of apple pie. Wednesday, 7:18 p.m. Claire came in carrying towels. "You okay?" she asked. I folded the receipt in my palm. "Fine." A few days later, Owen asked if his mother was sick. "Why would you ask that?" I said. He shrugged. "She cries in the laundry room sometimes. She said not to tell you because it would make you worry." I looked toward the laundry room door. "No," I said. "I don't think she's sick." By then, I had started building a story in my head. And every silence became evidence. I found a temporary visitor badge from St. Agnes tucked behind her library card. She said a patron had left it in a returned book. She slept with her phone face down. She took calls on the porch once. When I walked into the bedroom, she shut her laptop so fast the sound snapped through the room. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Ordering Owen's winter coat. In October. He grows." It was reasonable. That was the problem. Every answer was reasonable if I wanted peace and suspicious if I wanted proof. I stopped wanting peace. I started checking. One morning, after Claire left for work and Owen was at school, I picked up her old tablet from the desk. She had used it to sync messages years earlier and forgotten about it. I knew the passcode because it was Owen's birthday. Most messages were ordinary. Then I found the name M. Harris. Most of the thread was gone, but what remained was enough to poison me. He deserves to know, but I promised her first. From Claire, I need more time. Then him, Lily is asking questions. I searched M. Harris St. Agnes on my phone. Michael Harris, volunteer legal advocate, family services. That night, Claire packed a tote bag before leaving. Another senior program? I asked. She paused. Yes, you do a lot for people. She looked at me, maybe hearing something under the words. I try. I followed her. There's no noble way to say that. I got in my truck, left the headlights off until she turned the corner, and followed my wife through a misting rain. She did not go to the library. She drove to a brick apartment building near the hospital, where Michael Harris was waiting by the entrance. He held the door for her. She touched his arm as she passed. Not long, not intimate, maybe. But enough. I gripped the steering wheel until my fingers hurt. They disappeared inside. I sat there for 23 minutes. After that, a woman with a stroller came out, and Michael glanced toward my truck. I drove away. When I got home, I sat in the driveway with the engine off. The lamp Claire always left on for me was glowing in the window, and that small kindness made me furious. The next day, I found the envelope. It was in the bottom drawer of Claire's desk, beneath printer paper and old school photos. The envelope was brown, worn soft at the corners, with a dark coffee stain near the seal. Inside was a photograph of Claire standing beside Michael Harris in a hospital corridor. She looked younger, thinner, exhausted. Neither of them was smiling. There was a photocopy of a birth certificate. Name: Lily Ann Cooper. Of birth: May 14. Mother: Sarah Elise Cooper. Father: unknown. I stared at the date. Lily had been born 11 years ago, 1 year before Claire and I married. There was also a sheet listing medical costs, adoption fees, counseling appointments, and travel expenses, with notes in Claire's careful script. Paid. Sent. Call MH. I heard Owen in the living room playing a video game, the sound drifting down the hall. The normalness of it made the envelope feel obscene. Daniel, I turned. Claire stood behind me. She saw the envelope. Her eyes widened. You had no right, she said. That sentence detonated something in me. No right? I held up the birth certificate. Tell me what right you had to lie to me for 10 years. Her face folded, but she did not cry. Put it down. Who is Lily? Please put it down. Is she yours? No. His? No. Then why are you sneaking around with a man from the hospital and hiding a child's birth certificate in our house? She looked toward the hallway. Not here. I laughed once, hard and ugly. That's convenient, Daniel. Lower your voice. Why? So Owen doesn't find out his mother has a whole secret life. Claire flinched. I saw it. I kept going anyway. We ended up in the kitchen. Claire stood by the stove. I stood near the sink. Between us were unpaid bills and Owen's spelling list. Who is Lily? I asked again. She is not my daughter. Then what is she? A person I made a promise to protect. What does that even mean? It means I can't tell the story like it belongs only to me. I threw my keys onto the table. They skidded and struck the salt shaker. You sound like you rehearsed that. I have rehearsed it, she said. Her voice broke. For years. How long has Michael known the truth? He helps with legal things. That's all. Legal things. For the secret child. For Lily. Don't correct me like I'm the one lying. Claire wiped her cheek with the cuff of her sweater. I did not betray you. You hid another life from me. I was trying to keep a promise. To who? She closed her eyes. I watched her choose silence, and I mistook it for guilt. I don't know who I married, I said. Something between us stepped back. Claire opened her eyes. You were there, Daniel. I stared at her. What? You were there. You just don't remember what you promised. A sound came from the stairs. Owen stood halfway down, one hand on the railing, his face pale. Are you getting divorced? He asked. Neither of us answered fast enough. His mouth trembled. He turned and ran upstairs. Claire looked at me then, not angry anymore, just devastated. I can forgive you for being scared, she said. I don't know if I can forgive what you do with it. She walked past me and went upstairs to our son. I stood there until the house went still. I left because I was a coward. I drove to the parking lot of a closed hardware store and searched the name Sarah Elise Cooper. There was a brief obituary from 11 years earlier. 26 years old. Passed away at St. Agnes Medical Center. Private services, Sarah Cooper. The name bothered me because it was almost familiar, like a song coming through a wall. I sat there until after 11, then drove home. Claire's car was in the driveway, beside a dark sedan I had never seen before. The kitchen light was on. I opened the back door quietly. Claire was at the table. Michael Harris sat across from her. The brown envelope lay open between them. Beside it was an old silver flip phone and a medical folder. Claire saw me first. This time she looked tired of holding up a wall alone. That's far enough, I said. Michael lifted both hands slightly. I'm not here to fight you, Mr. Brooks. No. You're just here at midnight with my wife. Daniel. Claire said. Sit down. You don't get to tell me to sit down. Michael slid the folder toward me. Then stand. But listen. I'm done listening to half answers. Good, he said. Then hear the full one. Claire whispered. Michael, he has already torn the house apart, Michael said gently. And Lily is asking more questions. This secret is hurting everyone now. I looked at Claire. Tell me. She reached for the flip phone with shaking hands. I kept this because I didn't know how to throw away the last sound of her voice. Whose voice? Sarah's. Michael opened the folder and placed an old photograph on the table. It showed a young woman in a hospital bed, thin and pale, holding a newborn. Beside the bed stood Claire. Beside Claire stood me, younger, thinner, eyes red, one hand on the rail of Sarah Cooper's bed. I gripped the back of a chair. Claire pressed a button on the flip phone. Static crackled. Then a woman's weak, warm voice filled the kitchen. Danny, if you're hearing this, I'm probably being dramatic, and Claire finally made you listen. A small laugh. Then a cough. My knees loosened. Danny, I know you hate promises, the voice continued. You act like saying them out loud makes the universe want to test you. But I need one. Not for me. For her. Claire covered her mouth. If my parents try to erase me, don't let them erase Lily too. She doesn't need to be dragged through my mess. She just needs to know someday that I wanted her. That I loved her. That giving her a safer life was the only brave thing I had left. The recording clicked softly. You and Claire are the only people I trust to remember me right. Memory came in broken pieces. A diner booth at 2 in the morning. Sarah stealing my fries. Claire laughing. Sarah arriving pregnant and soaked from rain. A hospital corridor. Adoption papers. A baby crying behind glass. I remembered saying, I can't do this. I remembered Claire kneeling in front of me. We promised her. I remembered answering. Then you remember for both of us for a while. For a while, 11 years had passed. I sat down because my legs would not hold me. Claire did not move toward me. I deserved that. Michael spoke softly. Sarah's parents wanted a closed adoption. Claire pushed for a legal memory file, photos, medical history, letters, things Lily could access when she was old enough. I helped because Sarah had asked for an advocate. Why didn't I know? My voice sounded far away. Claire looked at the table. You did. At first. Then after Sarah died, you fell apart. I didn't. You stopped sleeping. You drank in the garage. You missed work twice. Once I found you in Owen's empty nursery before he was born, crying so hard you couldn't breathe. I stared at the flip phone. You told me you couldn't carry Sarah and a marriage and a future child all at once, Claire said. You begged me not to talk about it for a while. So I didn't. A while became a year. Then Lily's adoptive parents sent updates through Michael. Then Lily started asking who Sarah was. Owen can't know, I said. Claire nodded, tears slipping down her face. Not because it was shameful, because he is 10, and I didn't want him hearing pieces before we knew how to explain it. Michael stood slowly. I'll go. You two need to talk. At the back door, he looked at me. For what it's worth, Mr. Brooks, Sarah thought you were a good man. Try to become the version of yourself she remembered. Then he left us with the truth I had mistaken for betrayal. For a long time, neither of us spoke. I picked up the flip phone. It was heavier than it looked. I forgot her, I said. Claire shook her head. You survived her. That sounds kinder. It's still true. I looked at Claire. She had carried this alone for years because I had made grief a locked room and handed her the key from the outside. I am sorry, I said. She looked away. I'm sorry for accusing you. I'm sorry for following you. I'm sorry for making you afraid to tell me the truth in our own house. She wiped her face. I should have found a way to tell you sooner. No, I said. Don't make my part smaller so I can swallow it. Claire stared at me then, and for the first time that night, something in her face softened and guarded itself at the same time. I don't know what happens next, she said. I know. I love you. But I am tired, I know. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked. Owen. I'll talk to Sarah, I said. Not yet. About us, about what he heard. Owen's door was cracked open. He was awake, staring at the walls. I sat on the edge of his mattress. Hey, are you mad at Mom? He asked. I was scared. And I acted like being loud would make me less scared. He turned over. His eyes were swollen. Are you leaving? No. Is Mom? I hope not. That's not an answer. He sounded so much like Claire that I nearly smiled. No one is leaving tonight, I said. And none of this is your fault, not 1 inch of it. You yelled. I did. At Mom. Yes. You shouldn't. I know. Then say sorry I did. Say it better. I nodded. I will. The next morning, I called in sick. I made coffee and forgot to drink it. By the time Claire came downstairs, it was cold. Owen sat at the table eating cereal with the focus of a boy trying not to look at us. I put my phone on the table. Then I deleted every photo I had taken. The plate number, Michael's profile, the diner receipt. I did it where Claire could see. Not as a performance, but because secrecy had already done enough damage in that kitchen. I want to give you the envelope back, I said. Claire stood by the counter holding a dish towel. I don't want it hidden in a drawer anymore, she said. Okay. I don't know where it belongs. Maybe somewhere we both know. She nodded once. After Owen left for school, I listened. Claire told me about Sarah in pieces. Sarah had been my friend before Claire and I were serious, funny, and reckless and lonely in a way I recognized. Claire had loved her too, differently than I had, maybe more steadily. While I tried to fix things with rides and forced optimism, Claire sat with Sarah through appointments and panic. She asked about you at the end, Claire said. She said you looked like you were trying to hold up the ceiling. That sounded like something Sarah would say. I didn't even go to her funeral, I said. You did. I looked up. You stood in the back and left before anyone saw you. Then you never said her name again. My eyes burned. I pressed my thumb against the cracked line in the blue mug. I thought forgetting meant I had failed her. Claire's voice was gentle. Forgetting was how you stayed standing. But you don't need to stay standing that way anymore. A week passed before Claire let me come with her to meet Michael. 2 weeks passed before I read Sarah's letters. A month passed before Lily's adoptive parents agreed to meet us. During that month, Claire and I moved carefully around each other. Not coldly, carefully. We still packed Owen's lunches and argued about the thermostat. But something had changed. I stopped demanding immediate repair because I was uncomfortable with damage. When Claire went quiet, I did not fill the silence with defense. When fear rose, I named it before it became suspicion. One night, I found her in the laundry room sitting on the clothes dryer. I used to think you came in here to hide from me, I said. She looked at the basket in her lap. Sometimes I did. I deserve that. I don't want you to need to do that anymore. She folded one of Owen's shirts slowly. Then don't make every hard truth feel like a trial. I nodded. That became the work, not grand gestures. Work. Asking instead of searching. Sitting in discomfort without trying to win. The day we met Lily, the sky was bright and cold. We drove to a small park outside Columbus. Claire wore a navy coat and held Sarah's old copy of The Secret Garden. I drove with both hands on the wheel. You don't have to say much, Claire said. I know. She may ask something that hurts. I know that too. Michael was already there, standing near a picnic table with Lily's adoptive parents, who looked nervous in the protective way good parents do around strangers. And then I saw Lily. She was 11, dark-haired, holding a juice box in both hands. Her eyes were Sarah's, enough that my breath caught. Claire touched my wrist. Breathe, she whispered. We walked over. Introductions were awkward and gentle. Lily looked at Claire first. You knew my birth, Mom, Claire smiled and her eyes filled immediately. Yes, I did. Lily looked at me. Did you? My throat closed. Yes, I said, and she was brave. Lily studied me. Was she funny? I laughed before I cried, the way Sarah would have wanted. She was very funny. Mostly when she shouldn't have been. Claire handed her the book. This was hers, she said. She loved it when she was young. There's a picture inside, but you don't have to look now. Lily took it carefully. A photo slipped halfway out. Sarah in a diner booth, grinning over a plate of fries. Lily looked at the picture for a long time. She looks happy, she said. She was sometimes, I said. And she wanted you to know she loved you all the time. Her adoptive mother put an arm around her. No one made it more dramatic than that. The world did not stop. A toddler cried at the next table. A dog barked near the trail. Life went on, which was both cruel and merciful. When we walked back to the car, Claire slid her hand into mine. It was not forgiveness. Not fully. I knew better than to grab for that word too soon. But it was her hand. I held it like something entrusted. That evening, after Owen went to bed, I stood in our kitchen. The same yellow light glowed over the stove. The strawberry magnet still held the electric bill to the fridge. For months, I had treated this room like a place where betrayal was waiting to be discovered. Now I saw it for what it had always been. A place where my wife had made tea she forgot to drink because she was carrying grief. A place where my son had learned fear from my raised voice. A place where the truth had finally been invited to sit down. Claire came in, wearing her robe. You okay? She asked. I took my keys from my pocket and set them on the table gently this time. No, I said. She leaned against the doorway. But I'm here, I added. After a moment, she nodded. I looked at the brown envelope, now resting on the small shelf beside our family photos. Not hidden, simply present. Then I looked at my wife. I'm still learning how to stay, I said. Claire crossed the kitchen and stood beside me. She did not say it was all right. She just reached for my hand. And in the quiet of that ordinary house, with the furnace humming beneath the floor and our son sleeping upstairs, that was enough to begin.